Hello and welcome to Media Studies Lesson 5. In today's lesson what we're going to be focusing on is answering a 12-mark question. Now here's the CSP that it deals with. You'll notice that this CSP is slightly different to the one that you've looked at before because there was an advertisement at the bottom for Tesco's and that's not actually part of the CSP. But I think as far as sort of determining who the audience is, it shows that the Daily Mirror has a fairly sort of around that sort of middle working class, quite a broad appeal for a supermarket with broad appeal like Tesco's to be advertising in a newspaper like this. I think the Times would probably be focusing more on slightly more upmarket supermarkets like, for example, Sainsbury's or Waitrose. They'd probably be the sort of supermarkets that are being advertised there. Now, let's have a look at the question that we're going to have to answer about this particular CSP. Stories are selected for the front page because they have the highest news values. How far is this true of the Daily Mirror? Well, let's have a look at the Daily Mirror. We've got 1, 2, 3 stories. No MMR jab, no school. Kate's bids to heal hurtful rift between Wills and Harry, and new Bond stars are revealed. Now we're going to return to analysing our front page in just a minute because I'd just like to show you the mark scheme. Now the mark scheme looks like this. This is a fairly generic mark scheme. I've actually changed it slightly, so you'll see that it says here 2 specified newspapers. So this is actually a 20-mark question, which is going to be looking at both of them, but I've pared it down to a 12-mark question, just focusing on the Daily Mirror, because we haven't really looked at the Times in enough detail yet to be able to answer questions on that, okay? So let's have a look at what you're being assessed on. So first bullet point says, excellent knowledge and understanding of the theoretical framework, demonstrated by consistently effective discussion of selection criteria in the 2 specified newspapers. So what that's basically asking you to do is demonstrate your knowledge and understanding of the theoretical framework. Okay, well, it's talking about here about the discussion of selection criteria. So how do newspapers select news? Well, hopefully you'll know that because we did that a few lessons ago. We looked at news values, we looked at the 5 Ws, and those are theories that you can apply, Gaussian and Rouge, for example. We've got examples from the CSPs. So here, excellent, astute judgments and conclusions that are consistently well supported by relevant examples. So you need to actually tie this into the CSP in question. Don't start talking about the Times. Don't start talking about, I don't know, Daniel Blake. No, this is all about the Mirror, and this is all about this particular copy of the Mirror and this particular front page. So make sure that all of your evidence is taken from there. And finally, we've got consistent, appropriate and effective use of subject-specific terminology throughout. Now, you should also have a pretty good list and pretty good idea of what those things are from your previous lessons. Okay, so those are the 3 things that you have to do in this assessment. It is a 12-mark question, so that means 4 marks per paragraph. We're going to need to be writing about 3 paragraphs. Okay, now there are 3 stories on here, so you could write a paragraph about each of them. That would be absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm going to switch now, and I'm going to switch over to the visualizer because what I've done is I've copied the question here, and also I think my face is going to disappear. Oh, what a shame. Now, the first thing that we need to do here is we need to box, circle, underline. Now, the things, if you need a reminder of any of this, please do remember that you've got your, I've kind of adapted the red card slightly, and you'll find the new version of that attached to this lesson. So let's have a look then. So box the command words. So here we've got a how far question. So this is what we're going to be boxing. So that's what we need to understand. That's the type of question it is. It's an evaluation question, and we've got this statement here. Stories are selected for the front page because they have the highest news values. Now, we've boxed the command words. Now we need to circle the CSP. Now, we know that the CSP is the Daily Mirror. Okay, so we've boxed the command words, circled the CSP, and now we need to underline the media knowledge. Well, let's have a look. It says here, news values. Okay, so we are going to be writing about news values. All right, now there are basically three areas that we can look at here as far as this story is concerned. So we've got on the theoretical framework, we've got Galton and Rouge's news values. We've got Blumler and Katz's uses and gratifications, because obviously this, the purpose of this story here for the readers is rather different to the purpose of this story here. And readers are going to read this story about MMR jabs, school, and deadly diseases in for a very different, they're going to use that in a different way to this story here about a bit of titillation and gossip with the in the royal family. Okay, so we also need to bear in mind a little bit about who our readers actually are. So what are their values? What's important to them? Who are their sympathies with? Now, this is Daily Mirror, so don't forget we're looking at a fairly left-wing audience here. They're going to be interested in things like sort of fairness and equality, access to public services, like, for example, education. Also, trying to protect public services like the National Health Service as well. So there's kind of a bit of a conflict in this story already. Okay, let's go back to the this visualizer thing here. Right, okay, so we've boxed, circled and underlined our story. And what we're going to do now is we are going to start writing. Now, if you have a look on your red cards, they aren't red, and I'm not going to have them red when I get a new load printed out, because I think it's a bit of an aggressive colour. It makes me scared. So, here we go. So our sentence stem, firstly. Now, I think it's always a good idea to approach things in a manner of importance. So I've got a copy of the newspaper here. I think this is what we're going to be talking about firstly. We're going to be talking about the main story. Now, if you remember your terminology, this is a splash headline. So let's start off with this. So the splash headline, the splash headline is a good example because this is one which definitely does have high news values, doesn't it? Of a story with high news values. So look, we're actually using the terminology in the question here in our answer. Okay, so that's our what. Now we need to think about how. So let's talk about how it. So the headline. Okay, this is our evidence. Reads no MMR jab. Now, MMR stands for measles, mumps, and rubella. Rubella is what we used to call German measles in the old days. But these are traditional childhood illnesses that people don't tend to get anymore because they are immunized by this MMR jab. Right, no MMR jab, ... no school. Now, I'm sure you're aware, because of the COVID, the various debates about COVID, is that a lot of people are very suspicious of vaccinations. And this isn't something that's just started with COVID. Unfortunately, this has always been the case. A lot of people who kind of armchair scientists have a little bit of information, but because they don't fully understand it, they go into a panic about it. Like, for example, particular substances being in vaccines. Anyway, let's go back to this particular story. The headline reads, "No MMR jab, no school." Now, so this has high news value. Let's think about why it has news value. Well, first of all, let's think. So it's got high impact, hasn't it? I mean, all of the readers who send their kids to school, this is going to impact all of them. And potentially, if it becomes an epidemic, which is an epidemic is within a country and a pandemic, like COVID, is across the whole world. So if this becomes an epidemic, this could potentially affect a lot of us. Right, so the headline reads, "No MMR jab, no school." So this has high news value because of its impact. Now, I'm just going to use the word impact. But I'm going to add a bit more detail. So why has it got high impact? Unvaccinated individuals so could lead to a measles epidemic, which could affect us all. Okay, so that's our first point. Now, I think there's more than one news value in this story, so I'm going to push for full marks here. I'm going to make another point as well, because the other thing about this is, like I said, that the Daily Mirror readers. Actually, let's actually make this point. Daily Mirror readers because of their left-wing, capital left, capital wing, beliefs, support freedom for people to make choices, as well as the right to education. Education is so important. So Daily Mirror readers, because of their left-wing beliefs, support freedom for people to make choices, as well as the right to education, which is a very socialist idea. Now, so this story creates, or it presents, I think that's probably more accurate. It's not really creating it, it's presenting conflict between these two ideas, which makes the story more dramatic and appeals to the Mirror's target demographic. There we go. Demographic. Remember, demographics are just sort of information, data about people, gender, age, political beliefs, things like that. Now, let's just have a look back over this paragraph. I'm quite happy with this paragraph. Now, the three things, if you remember from the mark scheme that we're looking at here, is first of all, we're looking for, reference to theory. So let's have a look. So we've got theories here. We've got left-wing beliefs. We're talking about the Daily Mirror readers. We're talking about the idea of high news values here. So we're applying the theories that we have learnt in class to understanding and analysing this. And that's all you really need to do to make sure that you get those marks. The second thing that we're looking for is we're looking for reference to the text. So we've got the no MMR jab no score headline here. Oh, sorry, I've just noticed another bit of theory. We're talking about high news values. There we go. So yeah, So no MMR jab no score. We're talking about the headline. Oops, there's another bit of sorry, hang on. Let's see, Daily Mirror, because of their support, because left-wing beliefs support people who make choices as well as the right to education, presents conflict between these two ideas, which makes the story more dramatic and appeals to the Mirror's target demographic. Right, well, we're looking specifically at this, but the main thing that we've got in here is an awful lot of terminology. So we're talking about the splash headline, the headline. We've got impact, Daily Mirror, as well as presents conflict, which is another news value, and we're talking about the target demographic. So I think you can see that this answer here, it basically does everything that it's got to do. It's talking about news values, it's applying those news values, it's explaining how those news values attract an audience, it's using terminology, and it's making specific reference to the front page. Okay, now what I would like you to do, please, is I would like you to think about what the other stories on this page. Oops, where are we? There we go. So think about the other stories. I mean, if there's anything else that you can say about this front page story, no MMR jab, no school, feel free to make another point. But I think, as I was saying, with uses and gratifications, the main reason why people are going to be reading that MMR jab story is because they need information. Okay, the one about the royal family, I mean, you could argue that that's information as well. It's not as vital as the information in the measles story, which could literally keep you alive. But it's also sort of entertainment and escapism. We're going off into this wonderful world of the royal family, where we can escape from our kind of normal existence into a glitzy, glamorous world. And also the way that they've kind of been portrayed there, as we looked last time, that sort of Kate, Wills and Harry. You know, it's almost like they're three characters in a soap opera. And don't forget that, you know, as far as the Daily Mirror readership is concerned, stereotypically the C2DE readers are going to be really, really into soap operas. They're much more a working class form of entertainment than a middle class form of entertainment. Doesn't mean you're not allowed to like them if you're middle class. It's just that most of the people that watch them are working class. So it's almost like they're characters in some sort of a soap opera. Okay. Anyway, hopefully I've given you plenty, probably a bit too much to be going on with. So what I'd like you to do, please, is write up your ideas, and I'd like you to submit them, and we will give you feedback as soon as we possibly can. Okay. Well done, everybody. As always, any questions, pop them on the stream. Good luck.